again.
Well,
That's what you say.
yeah, that is the beginning of everything. That self has divided, and we are all in a way continuing life from that one life. Life comes from life. There is no other answer to this.
But you said that their thing was bring heaven on earth. So I'm trying to understand.
Okay, that will come with the evolution of this life. So this life began. So this is just the beginning of the evolution of the representations of the subtle. So there is this little blueprint of a cell, and that blueprint has now created this little cell, one cell creature. And now this one cell creature has to evolve. That evolutionary tendency is built into the natural law. Laws of the universe is telling us that it has to evolve because there is purpose in this creation of the single life. Its purpose is not over. This is where Darwin failed, because without the purpose element in it, what is driving it? Darwin's theory is stuck with Newton's theory. Newton said there is only force. But if force drives it, then what have you? You have only random processes. Now think of it. Even Darwin worried about that. Random processes putting together two cells, even from prokaryote to go to the eukaryote, think about it. It's very difficult to think, How is it that one cell will take habitat in the other cell, and then two of them become together, and the nucleus will be created? It's very far-fetched, very far-fetched. And then to imagine that cells will go together and create an organ, and that will perform the usefulness of the organ only after the organ is built. What good is 1,000th of an organ? Nothing. I have no evolutionary process. So it's very hard to make the picture of causal picture of evolution. In fact, impossible. So Aurobindo and Vishanga saying, no, what is driving evolution is purpose. Okay, and that is what. So quantum physics can give a language to the purpose. Quantum physics says that the purpose is brought about because all creatures, all manifestation happens. Why? Because we choose. So the purpose is built into the choice. How does consciousness choose? Consciousness chooses with the purpose of making better and better representations of the sun.
Does quantum physics, scientific perspective, have anything to say with evidence, science data, to say that evolution is happening in some way?
So we depend on the fact that quantum physics is based on evidence. So now we are completing quantum physics by saying that all these collapse events, initially we thought, well, they are just choice, and choice is arbitrary. But then you are adding a subjectivity to divine, subjectivity to the whole, and that subjectivity is one subjectivity that's not quite makes sense. That's like saying the Hindu concept of Dina, it's all God's plan. Instead, I think we are better off saying that no, that there is no subjectivity, it's completely objective, and the object is the purpose of making better and better representations.
So it makes us take the object.
Yes, but it's a choice. The point is that you can continue to think in terms of arbitrariness and make God subjective and all this. But I think my gut feeling, my intuition sides with Aurobindo, that God is not subjective. It's an objective choice. The objective is a little vague maybe, just like mythology is a little vague maybe as a scientific law, but that's because we are prejudiced towards accurate laws, towards deterministic laws. It can be a little open, and the openness comes from the fact that not all collapse events are beneficial. We do have evil acts, and it's not always clear that manifestation is always towards evolving better and better world. It's not, obviously.
Which also depends on what you say, isn't it?
Right. Right. It depends on so many other things. So there's contingency always and so forth. But overall, I think we can see that there is a overall quality of making better and better representation. Right.
Actually, the theory of evolution and questions, as you mentioned, choices that we make, is the theory of mutation. And there's one law of mutation states that as beings are exposed to different environments, they make they change in various manners, and that's how they evolve. And there are various examples to that. Just want to know your view on mutation as a role or a stimulator for evolution.
Well, mutation is a random process. The mistake that people make is to think that mutation is a classical deterministic process. In other words, the belief is that mutations happen by themselves. There was a physicist named Elsasser who wrote a paper in 1980 and then another paper in 1981 where he pointed out that, look, mutations are atomic processes and they are quantum processes. And therefore, quantum possibility calculus must enter. And then when we started theorizing that, yes, quantum possibilities cannot become actualities without conscious choice, then we are saying that no, mutations just by themselves are not manifest mutations. They are possible mutations. What manifests is when the entire organ has been created, and this is why we do not find this intermediate. The intermediate part of the evolution will be missing. Why? Because there is no intermediate. In Darwin's theory, there has to be intermediate, and that produces all kinds of problems. Why would this intermediate be selected out? Because there is no benefit from having 1,000th of an organ. But we are saying that no, there is no intermediate because there is only manifestation when the organ is complete, because that's when consciousness can choose. Otherwise, there's no purpose to consciousness choosing it. Remember, consciousness is choosing purposely. Only that which makes a better representation. But if the representation is not complete, then why should consciousness choose it? In other words, consciousness is wait for complete organ. Like the eye is complete and then only consciousness chooses. That's it.
In a sense, mutation is like a quantum leap of evolution. It takes a
So
quantum
mutations are quantum. And the change of the molecules into a living organ, that is the quantum leap. So every creation of a new organ in the evolutionary tree is a quantum leap, and this is what we have fossil done. Okay? So there is very fast evolution, and there is also slow evolution in between. The fast evolution is not in the territory of Darwin, that's the quantum leaps in evolution. Now it's interesting because some biologists did foresee this kind of theory. There is Stephen Gould and Niall Selvidge who has the idea of conservative equilibrium. So there is again some other people who have suggested similar things, but they didn't have any mechanism. So when I wrote creative evolution, it was very clear. This is how it happens. So that's my contribution to this whole idea.
But this is the best that we understand today. Maybe some better understanding will come in the future. So science can never say that this is the final understanding. This is what we understand today, but tomorrow one doesn't know. Some more understanding would come.
Well, the way to answer this kind of question is, of course, that you can raise a lot of counterfactuals that we will do in the future. But what's the use? Right now, this is a theory that you can make that understands all the data. Now, of course, in the future, some other data may come along. In fact, there is some reshaping of the data that has come around by recent geological data that is showing that Darwin's theory is enormously unreliable because what we thought is a chronological accumulation fossils that never happened. Geological data is showing that the chronology cannot be established looking at the geological stratum. There's tremendous uncertainty. So the whole basis of Darwin's theory is now in question. It may not be possible to establish lineages of data. So all this stuff we can leave out because it's not so relevant to our discussion. Okay, so forgive me, I'm not spending too much time with that one. But that one itself, it's such a huge subject that we have to go through a lot of concepts to do full justice. What we need to do is to decipher our purpose. And what we need to do is to decipher our future. What we need to do is, what should we do here and now, today, in today's world? What is the future? Where are we going? We have established meaning. What is the purpose of human life right now? Okay?
Yes.
So look at the data. Look at the data of, especially of the anthropological data of the evolution of the mind. The evolution of the vital is extremely important, I agree, but it talks about the animals. And animals, we're never going to know. We cannot talk to the animals very well. We can talk to them a little bit, but not well enough to ever find out what they really experience. So let's look at the human data only, which is actually the evolution of the mind. So if we go to the human data, and this is the part where Aurobindo himself has done some work and Wilbert has done some work. It's a beautiful story that the anthropological data tells us. And you recognize it because we all have read it this and that way, some of it. So the first recorded historical, anthropological historical data is the hunter-gatherer era of anthropology. Hunters and gatherers. Gatherers are the female, hunters are the men. So it's a very male-dominated society. And what is happening? For hunting and gathering, you need to have a very good idea of what the physical world around you is about. Mind gives meaning to our experiences, and so Aurobindo said that this is the kind of time when mind was giving meaning to the physical stimuli. It's a physical mind. Mind that gives meaning preferentially to the physical world, because that's what you need to survive. Hunters and gatherers both need mind to be busy with the physical. Now, why is this important? It is important to recognize that to do it now is foolish. That was then. That was important then. Now the world has shifted. Why should we be so attentive to the physical? It makes no sense. That just throws away evolution completely. What kind of creature are we if we still hold on to the physical mind? But that's what the scientific materialists are claiming to do. They want to insist in this graph to bring back the physical mind. This is why it's important to recognize that we have moved on. We have moved on from the physical. The next stage, anthropological data clearly shows that in the next stage, we become what can be called the vital mind. The anthropological era is the era of small-scale agriculture, garden agriculture. People develop the concept of little gardens adjacent to their houses. And so they could grow grain, they could grow vegetables, and therefore families could happen. People could settle down, small-scale agriculture, but they are already settling down. And garden can be attended to men and women together. Garden instruments are like hoe. It can be welded by even do-it-yourself. So men and women together were exploring it, and when men and women together are exploring it, these negative emotions come about. And of course, that's what was happening in this era. It gave meaning to the negative emotion. So mind got into the act of feelings, which were not necessarily negative. Feelings are never negative. They are what they are. So animals have a natural way of expressing their feelings. It's very clear in the natural world. I don't know if you watch some of the television shows, which exist, which show the natural world, and it's amazing, Lions and little deer cubs are playing together. Beautiful to see that there is no fear in the animal world, although the same lion will eat the deer when they are hungry. But when they're not hungry, they play together. They have no awareness of the fact that this lion will eat me later. There's nothing like that. They don't have any concept of that kind of thing because they don't have any mind to process that. We have. So men and women fight and they remember that they fought. And so they bring meaning into the fight. They bring meaning into the arousal of the feeling. In this way, we create an emotional mind. That emotional mind, vital mind, is created in this sutra. Before that, feelings and meanings were independent of each other. Animal feelings has that theory. This is why some teachers like Osho used to say, "Be like animals." He mean be like animals, but he meant that be that spontaneous in terms of processing feeling without imposing on your mind. What does this mean? If we look at feelings that way, an angry feeling is okay. It's the meaning behind the angry feeling that gives us trouble. Why is this person agitated? When we ask that, we don't appreciate the beauty of a person being agitated. It's quite beautiful. But why? Giving the meaning immediately says, oh, this person cannot be trusted. It's volatile. That's the meaning that his mind is imposing, right? So, the brain circuits that originally in the animal is instinct, and they are pure instinct. Animals don't suffer from having these feelings of, there's no negativity in it. They just are as they are. They are what they are. They're used to. And that's all there. In the human being, we give meaning to this. We have emotional brain circuit. Whenever I evoke the feeling of anger, mind has given meaning to this anger, and that's a negative connotation, and that negativity has become part of this anger experience. And so we have an emotion of anger, a negative experience. I am angry, I am upset, I cannot speak clearly anymore. All these are mind playing this thing. Of course, a little bit of that instinctual pattern bypasses the neocortex, so mind does not get into the thing, like fight response. That one we still have, right? But there also, the emotion has corrupted us. Because before, I would run away. If a tiger appears, automatically that's built in. But now what happens is that I try to run away not only when the tiger is there, but when my fierce boss is there, I also tend to run away. That fear arises. Why? Because I gave the meaning, negative meaning to this instinct of fear. So people have become associated with that same negativity, so I have the same reaction. It has introduced the idea of mental stress. Things have become very stressful because we have done all this connotation to objects which really are instinctually, from feeling-wise, they are not really objects to run away from. But the mental meaning of it makes us run away or wanting to run away. So understanding this helps very much what the problem is, or what the problem with negative emotional brain circuit is. And then with further discovery of technology, we discovered the cloud, and that of course took us to large-scale agriculture. This is an important thing to recognize, that this is a major thing. Okay, the Bible, I think, this is why they talk about the creation itself, because this is where we get the idea that there is a fall from heaven. This creation of the mind, processing mind, that's what next level is, right? Mind processing physical, mind processing vital, and now mind processing mind. Major change, because major change takes place in the society. Notice the change. Why does the Bible have the story of fall from Eden? Because it is, in a sense. In the physical, we lived in tribes. we could not survive otherwise. Physical mind, hunters and gatherers, they're all tribes. In the vital mind, it's still tribal. And in the tribal, what happens? Non-locality still is rampant. Mind working with feeling, because feeling is the dominating term, and that is still non-local. A lot of non-locality exists even with negativity of feeling. Even there, non-locality is not completely gone. It is there. We still live in tribal society. But when mind starts giving meaning to mind itself, or you get this abstract thinking, notice a qualitatively different situation arises. Mental thinking is hierarchical, simple hierarchical. That mental thinking, little thought, bigger thought, complex thought, complex. Another thing that comes with agricultural society is now we have plows, big lands can be owned, and there is a benefit to do that because then you can own the land and you can hire other people to plow the land, and so big landowners develop. The society also becomes hierarchical. People who have bigger lands, they have more strength, they can hold bigger lands than people who serve them. So this idea that landowners and serve, this idea of life. So both the physical world that we live in becomes hierarchical, and the mental world is also becoming hierarchical because mental computation is like programs, little programs, making bigger programs. It's computational. It's algorithmic. So naturally there is a hierarchy in the mental world as well. So we become hierarchical. This is the big difference from the psychological point of view. Simple hierarchies develop. Before then in tribal societies, very little evidence of any simple hierarchy. There was a little bit. But that became much more in the era of mind giving meaning to mind. And this is the era that is continuing. Agriculture changed into technology, industrial changed into technology changed into high-tech that we have now, but it's still the same way. We are fundamentally hierarchical society. There was a little bit of break that we had about 200 years, starting the 18th century, continuing into the 19th and into the 20th and a bit of 20th. Just about 200 years window where thanks to Descartes, we have this truce between religion and science. And in that truce, which was very much like an integrated worldview that quantum physics is giving us, promising us, very much like that, although based on dualism, but both matter and mind were valued. And what did we do during this period? We developed these three very wonderful institutions that we value, which is democracy, capitalism, and liberal education. These two things are wonderful. Why? Because we have an innate tendency of seeing that this hierarchical world is not the right one for human beings. We tried to see this many times in history. You get individual periods where indeed the hierarchy is gone. Like in India, we remember, all of us remember fondly, very fondly, the reign of Ashoka. When India became free, the symbols of Ashoka's time were celebrated repeatedly in various ways, like on our coins. Why? Because Ashoka was one of the kings who really successfully tried to get rid of the hierarchy, almost completely based on the Buddhist democracy, Buddhist evolution of those laws of non-violence being the principal one. Because hierarchy is established how? Hierarchy is maintained how? Always by violent use of power. So in this way, when we look at evolution in this way, but the next question, natural question to ask, what is next? As we ask that question, what is the answer? Very simple, right? 4 types of experience, 4 types of involution, and so the first stage, mind gives meaning to physical, second stage, mind gives meaning to vital, third stage, mind gives meaning to mind itself, fourth stage, mind must give meaning to the archetype, to the intuition. Right? Natural? Yes, please.
Like you just said, the Ashoka's time. Ashoka's time, like freedom. So I'm just very crudely saying that this is evolution when some pieces come in. Very crudely talking. And some pieces there, some order is there.
Some pieces are there?
Some piece, some order, less hierarchy and a move towards oneness.
Right.
Right? But then we have again gone worse, if I may say. So instead of it being a linear, that we keep moving towards removing the hierarchy, we have like a wave. So we have with that.
Well, it's not, of course, we need to study more perhaps, but I think what you can see is that there is a simple hierarchy that arose from as soon as we started the mental yoga, and the simple hierarchies continued until that 18th, 19th century where we discovered this free democracy, capitalism, and liberal education to liberate us from the simple hierarchy. So we had this intuition that it's not good for us. But we didn't succeed. So the tendency of simple hierarchy still is a major tendency in the behavior of the human being. But the next stage is clear. The next stage is obviously the archetypal stage where mind will give meaning to the archetypes. And I think what is clear is that without the archetypes in our life, we probably cannot get into tangled hierarchy properly. Because look, only when I try to love you, the limitation of simple hierarchy becomes clear. I cannot love you if I am superior to you, right? And you cannot love me if you are inferior to me. It's not really possible. So love or texted justice. If I want to be fair to you, justice is fairness. If I want to be fair to you, I cannot do it with basic unfairness. If I am superior to you, that is basically unfair. Then how can I be fair to you completely? I can try, but I will never succeed because I am fundamentally better than you. So how can I?
But why are we I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, but why are we assuming that we are moving towards this and everybody wants it? I'm just trying to understand that how do we, I'm not trying to be pessimistic at all. I'm a very optimistic person, but I want to know if there is any science basically that says that we are on this direction, or that they are not simultaneously level, or that they could be anything else.
Well, no, I hear you. And I cannot give a complete satisfactory answer, but I can tell you this, that the evolutionary brain is telling us that the next era is obviously mind giving meaning to the archetype. And then it becomes a necessity of that process of mind giving meaning to archetype. But that necessity is that we got to get rid of the hierarchy. You see? Until the necessity of evolution is there, we cannot have enough motivation to do it. Does that make sense? The one component that Darwin had right is the component of chance and necessity. There's a chance part and necessity part. That's the survival necessity, that's the only necessity he saw. But Aurobindo and the addition they are seeing much more necessity. Like Maslow made it very clear that no, we have also higher necessity. This idea that evolution has to proceed to making representations of the archetypes comes from our necessity to satisfy the higher need. We are feeling these. Why are you here? I'm not going to talk about better conditioning. I'm not going to talk about how to have better sex. I'm going to talk about how to transform sex into love. But that has to be a necessity for it. We've got to be, if you are satisfied with sex, why should you come here? But because you feel the necessity of love, you come here. but that necessity itself tells you something. If I'm a hierarchical teacher, then whatever I do outside, oh, do this, do that. You know, that's hierarchy. But if I say, well, let's work together, how we can love each other. Let's try to see the creative practice. Not hierarchy anymore. I immediately given up the idea of hierarchy and saying that, look, I'm your equal, I want to love you just as you want to love me. Right? And that's where the necessity gets recognized. And it can only be this way. There is just one of way. Without the necessity, motivation doesn't come.
So, but then this is more psychological than quantum physics, right? No, I mean, I'm not trying to,
No, you were right, you were right. You were absolutely right. The quantum physics comes in only in the part where we say that evolution is taking place. And evolution requires quantum leap. That's the only part. So there is quantum physics, but it's subtle. So what is a quantum leap here? That is the question. There is a contextual change that is taking place, and that's the quantum leap. So quantum leap is in the change of the worldview. The worldview change that every one of us has to impose, that is a quantum process. You will never be able to give up the hierarchy that is in you without taking the quantum leap. And the society will never be able to give up the hierarchical structures until we, as a group, non-local group, transform, and that transformation propagates in the rest of humanity, just as people have always evolved in that way. Evolution, it seems from the study of it, seems to be directed by the work of a few people.
So could we think of it like we're at that time where we have an opportunity window, which we are sensing, and we are now using the tools of quantum or understanding of quantum to make that jump?
Right. If you understand quantum, then only you can do all the things that are necessary for a group to take this quantum leap together. And when the group takes the quantum leap together, what I'm saying is the changes that take place, those changes, there is a mechanism called Lamarckian evolution. Through that mechanism, those changes propagate to the entire species.
What term did you use?
This change that will make, okay? Sorry, I forgot that I'm talking to the guardian. The changes that will make. Oh, we're going a bit ahead. I mean, thank you for the question, but let's go a little systematically. I'm really going a little bit ahead of myself, and that's it. We have only 10 minutes, but that should be enough. So, come back to this archetype, right? So, we have a necessity to investigate the archetype. We have a necessity for changing our regular pattern of ways because this crisis that we see all around us, that is giving us a necessity. We have to evolve. And evolution requires, what is quantum physics in it? It's very right. It's also psychological. No, it's not all psychological. There is quantum physics in it because we have to take quantum leap. Not only that, look at the situation. We have to take quantum leap. How many of us can take quantum leap? Look at it. Look at it. How many of us can take quantum leap? Well, some of you obviously are ready to do. I think everyone here probably without so much hesitation can raise. Raise your hand. What's here now? Yes, you can do it. Everyone here can do it. But you know, you go out on the street. How many can do it? Will you find one person in this village, outside of this room, doing it? No. Majority of people in Bangalore? No. So, how does then evolution proceed at all? People have studied this, self-expression. How does evolution proceed at all? This is a big tall order, really. To discover archetypes, we want to be process. You know? I know personally. You know, I can say with some assurance that yes, I can love you unconditionally. But what time did it take me? Years and years and years and years. I had 3 marriages. I learned from every marriage and still, you know, it took time. So how can we say that people, ordinary people, who don't even have the sophistication to understand quantum physics or archetypes or even concepts, how can we expect that they take quantum physics? And how then can evolution happen at all? So when we study it, we find that evolution really is not even these genes changing, even consciousness selecting from gene mutation, which is the quantum theory of evolution. If that process, entire process is still very limited, there has to be another process where only a small number can affect the behavior of the big number. How can that happen? This has been a mystery. This is called Lamarckian evolution. Lamarck said that if the necessity arises, then macroscopic changes in the species can become part of the whole species. Like environmental conditions arise, make the ground very tough, and we work on them, and our soles of the feet get thick. That thickness can be transferred to the whole of humanity, although it is true that not everywhere the ground becomes so hard and so harsh that the sole of the feet needed to have thick skin. This is the theory. The acquired characteristics somehow get established in the whole species. The acquired characteristics of some people, some part of the species, become established in the whole species.
Herein comes the evolutionary intermediary phenomenon of management of all the subjects, all the people. Management.
Please don't stop now because time is limited. People are very late for lunch. So let's finish this thing and then maybe we can discuss it in later. Not today, but later session.
Let's just be. I'm just suggesting let's just be.
Okay. So going back to it, this Lamarckian evolution. How does Lamarckian evolution take place? Obviously, one concept we have now, quantum concept that we have developed, which is the concept of non-locality. So can we say that we can bring in non-locality? We have a concept of non-local memory. That is a crucial concept, and we have used it to understand reincarnation in one lineage, one incarnation to another. Now imagine this reincarnation, but reincarnation for a whole group. A group of people transforming in a certain way, developing certain characteristics, like love. So we have love circuits in our brain. Whole group, non-local, tribal, right? This tribe is called quantum activism. That tribe creates this brain circuit of love by working with each other. We love. What happens? The learning creates a collective construct. Love circuits, loving is now a characteristic of this group. So through this non-local memory, propagation of that, in the future, another group is going to get it. But it's not going to be exactly the same group because reincarnational rate, the timings, etc. that vary somewhat. So the group is going to change somewhat in terms of its members. And this is how this propagates. One group influences other groups of humanity who are learning to love in different groups. But it has to be all in different groups of humanity in different parts of the world. One group could not do it. But this way of propagating eventually touches the whole of humanity. Because we are, after all, locally fairly connected. Today especially we are not connected. In the olden days, the connection was very difficult because only geographical way we could connect. But now we can connect to the internet, so it's much more ubiquitous. So maybe we can do it even faster, this propagation of acquired characteristics. So this is the idea. That 6 or 7 generations later, everybody, every human being, every baby will be born with a love circuit. If today we can be dedicated enough, we can be learning enough, if we can be optimistic enough, we can be idealistic enough to dream that yes, we can create such a world where love is going thing, because we have love circuit who automatically can balance the negative emotional brain circuit. And such a child will never have a problem of violence, right? So what we are trying to achieve today with vegetarianism, with teachers teaching us non-violence, which never will work, we are going to do it in actually biological way. Have we done it this way before? Yes, we have. The evidence is clear. Biological evidence clearly suggests that instincts have been propagated only this way. So this has happened before. This is Sherlock's point, that this has happened before. And my point is that we can do it again, because we understand the mechanism of non-locality, non-local memory. If we can bring about large enough groups in various parts of the world that work with the same agenda of expressing these archetypes in our being, really making it a representation, the embodiment of these archetypes. As hard as it may seem, but it is really not that hard because we know the process, if you seriously go through with it. So this is why we are establishing this university. It's the University of Transformation. People who come here will not live the same human being. Good, that's a good place to end. In the afternoon, we will have psychology, how to do it, living, okay? Thank you. Now let's go to lunch. That's built in. But now what happens is that I try to run away not only when the tiger is there, but when my fierce boss is there, I also tend to run away. That fear arises. Why? Because I gave the meaning, negative meaning to this instinct of fear. So people have become associated with that same negativity, so I have the same reaction. It has increased the idea of mental stress. Things have become very stressful because we have done all this connotation to objects which really are instinctually, from feeling-wise, they are not really objects to run away from. But the mental meaning of it makes us run away or wanting to run away. So understanding this helps very much what the problem is, or what the problem with negative emotional brain circuit is. And then with further discovery of technology, we discovered the cloud, and that of course took us to large-scale agriculture. This is an important thing to recognize, that this is a major thing. Okay, the Bible, I think, this is where they talk about the creation itself, because this is where we get the idea that there is a fall from heaven. This creation of the mind, processing mind, that's what next level is, right? Mind processing physical, mind processing vital, and now mind processing mind. Major change, because major change takes place in the society. Notice the change. Why does the Bible have the story of fall from Eden? Because it is, in a sense. In the physical, we lived in tribes. We could not survive otherwise. Physical mind, hunters and gatherers, they're all tribes. In the vital mind, it's still tribal. And in the tribal, what happens? Non-locality still is rampant. Mind working with feeling, because feeling is the dominating term, and that is still non-local. A lot of non-locality exists even with negativity of feeling. Even there, non-locality is not completely gone. It is there. We still live in tribal society. But when mind starts giving meaning to mind itself, or you get this abstract thinking, notice a qualitatively different situation arises. Mental thinking is hierarchical, simple hierarchical. That mental thinking little thought, bigger thought, complex thoughts, complex, complex, complex. Another thing that comes with agricultural society is now we have plows, big lands can be owned, and there is a benefit to do that because then you can own the land and you can hire other people to plow the land, and so big landowners develop. The society also becomes hierarchical. People who have bigger lands, they have more strength, they can hold bigger lands than people who serve them. So this idea that landowners and serve, this idea is not. So both the physical world that we live in becomes hierarchical, and the mental world is also becoming hierarchical because mental computation is like programs, little programs, making bigger programs, making bigger programs. It's computational. It's algorithmic. So naturally there is a hierarchy in the mental world as well. So we become hierarchical. This is the big difference from the psychological point of view. Simple hierarchies develop. Before then, in tribal societies, very little evidence of any simple hierarchy. There was a little bit. But that became much, much more in the era of mind giving meaning to mind. And this is the era that is continuing. Agriculture changed into technology, industrial tech changed into technology changed into high tech that we have now, but it's still the same way. We are fundamentally hierarchical society. There was a little bit of break that we had about 200 years, starting in the 18th century, continuing into the 19th and into the 20th and a bit of 20th, just about 200 years window where thanks to Descartes, we have this truce between religion and science, and in that truce, which is very much like an integrated worldview that quantum physics is giving us, promising us, very much like that, although based on dualism, but both matter and mind were valued. And what did we do during this period? We developed these three very wonderful institutions that we value, which is democracy, capitalism, and liberal education. These two things are wonderful. Why? Because we have an innate tendency of seeing that this hierarchical world is not the right one for human beings. We tried to see this many times in history. You get individual periods where indeed the hierarchy is gone.